Alright, now for the finale here with the #1 draft, in my opinion here, of the 2013 NFL draft. The work put in by the Cincinnati Bengals. They had a lot of picks, could have made a lot of bad decisions. For as many picks as they had, they could have, tried to be cute with a lot of picks like some teams do. They weren't really cute with any of their picks. They picked like the best players that fitted positions they needed depth at, that they had holes at. And they had a variety of schools, divisions they picked from. They didn't stick to, overloading on one position or, sticking, to a certain type of player they were looking for. They were looking for name players, some players I wasn't aware of at the time. I don't remember having them on my board. We'll just jump right in and say with their first pick was a good pick, pretty safe pick with Tyler Eifert, tight end at Notre Dame. Very tall guy, receiving tight end. He could do it all there. One of the bright spots, the few bright spots on that offense that year. The defense got most of the the headlines, but he definitely was the focal point of that offense at that point. With his maturation being at that level already. Before guys that went to the draft this past year came out. Definitely like the best tight end in the draft that year, in my opinion. Then you had Giovanni Bernard with their second pick. The Bengals picked him up from UNC. Not so much a guy I heard too much. I mean, I might have heard about him passing up, to be honest. But really, he turned out really good for them. So I can't even knock what they did at the time. Though I wasn't a big fan of that pick. Their third pick was Marcus Hunt, a guy who was an in-betweener, very tall, pretty strong and fast for that height. I think it's like 6'7" or something like that. Like very tall, defensive end at SMU. He didn't really wow me compared to what I had seen and what I read about a few other linemen other than him. But I guess, he had the reps in, he had the experience, the time to mature at SMU, a program that maybe lesser known, but definitely nothing to turn your nose up at. Put enough work in there to be the third pick for them. The fourth pick was safety Sean Williams, a player I was pretty familiar with at the time. Just them really becoming a big Georgia fan, getting into them, being very familiar with that whole roster. There was two other safeties, the other one mainly being Bakari Rambo, that was really the key guy there. But Shaw Williams was no slouch. He was decent there, enough to put him in the top defenses in the league, in the country, I should say. Altogether for Georgia, they still couldn't get away. Come away with a win. They couldn't quite get to the national championship game any of those years he was there, by even getting past the SEC championship. But they did put forth some value and effort. Kind of an all-around game from him. Then you got Sean Porter, linebacker out of Texas A&M. Might not be Von Miller, maybe along the lines of Stephen Jenkins. We'll have to wait and see. Didn't hear about him too much this past year as a rookie. You also have a big pick here, a guy who I liked, coming out that draft that year, that they got with their sixth pick, Tanner Hawkinson, offensive tackle out of Kansas. Big, tall guy, prototypical size and ability. Just didn't come from one of the big name schools like USC or LSU or Alabama, places like that. He didn't come from Ohio State. But still Kansas, Division I team, good program there. It'll be interesting where they end up with him. I think he was at guard at some point this year. I don't know how much playing time he got. Then you got Rex Burkhead, guy from Nebraska, guy who who was on my board. Rex Burkhead was, I think he's not super fast, but he wasn't a small guy, so gave some power running back. But with Giovanni Bernard panning out for them, they might not need to rush him just yet. Then you got Kobe Hamilton, wide receiver. They picked with their following pick out of Arkansas, a guy who had on my board. I wasn't too deep for wide receivers that year, 2013. If my memory serves me correctly. But in all honesty, he was there probably in my top 10 wide receivers. So they did good there diversifying their type of picks. The first receiver off the board, other than the tight end, Tyler Eifert. After that wideout, they go offensive tackle with Reed Fraggle out of Ohio State. Another good pick. If you're going to go tackle or guard, you're not sure, when in doubt, go tackle. Maybe you can move to right guard at least or something like that. Get depth there. So Ken Knockham picking the tackle out of a high-end program that late in the draft. Good value for them. And then another good pick, T.J. Johnson, center out of South Carolina. So they still fortifying that offensive line. Even though they have one of the better offensive lines in the league, the Bengals definitely aren't getting any younger on the offensive line. So they did good there. All in all, a lot of picks. They ended up with about 10 picks there that they didn't really miss on any of them. They turned out some of them to already pay dividends even in their rookie years. So we'll see what goes on because Andy Dalton and guys there, AJ Green, I really appreciate having guys like Tyler Eifert. As long as Giovanni Bernard can continue to up his game and come along in the league. He's ready ahead of schedule, if you ask me. And they can start to be a force on offense in the playoffs other than just, a force on defense throughout the year. That being said, I'll be interested to see what people comment, seeing this was the big reveal, seeing, who I thought had the best draft results for the 2013 NFL Draft. That being said, the next few videos are going to be about the 2014 NFL Draft, very much in depth. The biggest draft, in my opinion, is 2006, when we had, the Reggie Bush drama and Vince Young, Matt Leinart. That's really a Hall of Fame draft for drafts purposes. That is legendary draft right there. Most players are still in the league from that draft, as opposed to just being out after 2 or 3. So that being said, the next video is going to be actually a bonus video for my favorite team, the Falcons, who did not have a great draft that year, in my opinion. Maybe it's going to take another year or two to prove me wrong. But for the most part, I only knew like one player on that. So next video is going to be a quick bonus video on the Falcons, how they did, which was bottom third of the league. 2-3 teams I talked about so far, 3 best. Then there's a bunch of teams that we'll have to wait and see, like the Vikings. They had a good year for the draft in 2013, in my opinion, but it's not the top 3. But then the Falcons, like one of the 8 or 9 teams I had at the bottom, where I don't know what they were doing. Nobody, like a lot of you guys weren't even on my board. But we'll see what you guys think about that. And that being said, this has been the best draft, in my opinion, for 2013 NFL season, handed down by the Bengals. I'll see you next video with how the Falcons did in 2013 as far as the draft goes.